Deep space held nothing but silence and stars, exactly the way Dr. Vin preferred it. The Pelrani scientist floated near the observation window of the gentle current, his translucent skin rippling with contentment as he watched dust clouds drift past their small research vessel. For 3 months, his team had been mapping this empty sector of space, cataloging old star systems that nobody cared about anymore. It was peaceful work for a peaceful species. "Doctor, I found something strange." The voice belonged to Hellas, their youngest navigator. She was only 40 cycles old, barely experienced enough for deep space work, but eager to prove herself. Vin swam through the low-gravity corridor toward the sensor station. His people had evolved in the gentle oceans of Pelra, and they still preferred water-filled environments even on their ships. "Strange how?" he asked, his voice creating bubbles that floated upward. Hellas pointed at her screen with one of her 4 delicate arms. "There is an old structure out there, very old. It is giving off a faint power signature." That made Vin pause. Ancient structures were rare in this region. Most species had abandoned the outer fringe sectors thousands of years ago, when the trade routes shifted. "Show me." The image appeared on the main display. It was a small station, no bigger than their own vessel, covered in pitted metal that spoke of centuries floating in the void. Its design was unfamiliar, all sharp angles and heavy plating. Nothing like the smooth, organic curves the Pelrani preferred. "Should we investigate?" Hellas asked, her skin flickering with excitement. "No." Vin was firm. "We report it to the Accord authorities and move on. Old stations can be dangerous. They might have failing reactors or damaged weapon systems." But Hellas had already moved their ship closer. Young navigators were all the same, Vin thought with resignation. Too curious for their own good. Captain Rella swam into the command center, her larger frame casting shadows across the water-filled space. "What are you doing, navigator?" "I did not authorize a course change." "I am sorry, Captain," Hellas said, though her skin color showed she was not sorry at all. "But look at this station. The design is pre-Accord, maybe even pre-contact era. This could be an important discovery." Rella looked at Vin, who gave the equivalent of a human shrug. "They were already here. A quick scan would not hurt anyone." 10 minutes, Rella said. "Then we leave and report this to the proper authorities." Hellas guided their ship alongside the derelict station. Up close, it looked even more menacing. Whoever built it had used triple-layer armor plating and what looked like military-grade shielding. This was a defensive structure, Vin observed, built to protect something, or to warn something away. "There are markings on the hull," Hellas said. She enhanced the image, bringing up symbols that none of them recognized. The computer started translating, pulling from the vast linguistic database all Accord vessels carried. "It says, quarantine beacon? No, that's not quite right. Emergency beacon. System 774. 774. Rella's skin went pale. "That is the old designation for isolated worlds. Worlds under protection protocols." Before anyone could respond, Hellas made her fatal mistake. She activated a scanning beam to get better readings on the symbols. The moment the beam touched the station's hull, lights blazed to life across its surface. Alarms shrieked through the water of the gentle current. "Turn it off," Vin shouted. "I am trying." Hellas worked frantically at her controls. "The station is responding to our scan." "It thinks we are in distress. It is activating some kind of response protocol." The ancient station was waking up. Power surged through systems that had slept for who knew how many years. A pulse of energy shot out in all directions, expanding faster than light through subspace. It was a distress call, Vin realized with horror. An automated distress call designed to reach someone specific. "Shut down all systems," Rella commanded. "Maybe it will think we left and go dormant again." They killed every non-essential system on their ship, floating in darkness and silence. For a moment, Vin hoped it had worked. Then the station sent out another pulse. And another. "It will not stop," Hellas whispered, her skin flickering with fear. "I have triggered an automatic sequence. It will keep sending the signal until someone responds." Vin accessed the computer's historical database, searching for information about System 774 protocols. What he found made his skin go completely transparent with terror. This beacon is designed to reach protected species, worlds that the Accord isolated for safety reasons. "Whose safety?" Rella asked. "Everyone else's." Vin pulled up a star chart, tracing the signal's projected path. It would propagate through subspace, reaching further with each pulse until it touched civilized space. and one world in particular. One world that every species had agreed should never be contacted. It is going to reach Terra. The name hung in the water like poison. Terra, Earth, the quarantine world, home to the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever discovered. Humanity. Cancel the signal. Rella was already moving, her training overriding her fear. Broadcast a cancellation code. Tell them it was a false alarm. They tried everything. Broadcast after broadcast went out into the void. But the old station's signal was designed for emergencies, built with pre-accord technology that punched through subspace like nothing they had ever seen. Their cancellations were whispers compared to its scream. How long until the signal reaches Earth? Rella asked quietly. Vin checked the calculations 3 times, hoping he was wrong. He was not. 4 hours. Maybe 5. And how long until the humans respond? Nobody answered. They did not know much about humans, only what the Accord's warning files contained. Humans were from a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest danger classification. They had evolved as apex predators on a planet that tried to kill everything that lived there. Gravity 3 times galactic standard. Atmosphere that could corrode most ship hulls. Weather patterns that would tear apart any normal civilization. And the humans had not just survived. They had thrived. They had conquered their entire planet, eliminated every other competing species, and built a civilization on the bones of their enemies. The Accord had quarantined them 50 years ago, when the first survey team discovered Earth. Too dangerous to contact. Too aggressive to trust. Let them stay on their death world where they could not threaten anyone else. And now Hellas had sent them a distress call. What do we do? The young navigator's skin was flickering through colors of panic. Vin looked at Rella. Rella looked at the empty space around them. There was nowhere to run. Their ship was slow, designed for research, not escape. Even if they fled, where would they go? The humans would follow the signal directly to these coordinates. We wait, Rella decided. We stay here and we wait. If we run, they will think we are hostile. If we stay, maybe they will understand it was a mistake. And if they do not care? Hellas asked. The files say humans are violent, aggressive, that they enjoy warfare. Then we die. Rella's words were blunt but honest. But we die honestly. We do not run. We face what we have called here and we hope they are more civilized than the Accord believes. They waited in the darkness, their ship powered down to minimal systems, watching the old beacon continue its automated distress call. 5 hours passed in silence, then 6. Vin was beginning to hope that maybe the humans would not respond. Maybe Earth had destroyed itself in nuclear war, as the projections had predicted. Maybe the signal would reach nothing but ruins. Then their sensors screamed. Something massive was tearing through the fabric of space itself, creating a jump point where none should exist. The energy readings were off the charts. Multiple signatures. Not one ship. Many ships, how many? Rella asked, her voice steady despite her transparent skin. Vin checked twice, not believing the numbers. 23 vessels, all large, all military class. He paused, his skin flickering with disbelief. They brought an entire fleet. Through the observation window, space itself seemed to crack open. Ships emerged from the impossible angles of jump space, each one bristling with weapons and armor that made the ancient beacon look primitive. They moved with precision, forming a defensive pattern around the gentle current in seconds. The humans had arrived, and they had come prepared for war. Admiral Cole had been in his garden when the alert came through. Not a physical garden, of course. Nobody with his schedule had time for real plants. But the virtual reality sim on his personal quarters was good enough to trick his tired mind into relaxing. He had been pruning virtual roses when every screen in his apartment flashed red. Emergency contact protocol activated. Unknown distress signal received. Origin outer fringe sector. Format. Pre-accord emergency beacon. The message that followed made his blood run cold, then hot with something he had not felt in years. Hope. Someone was calling for help. Someone out there in the galaxy knew Earth existed and had sent a distress signal directly to them. After 20 years of isolation, 20 years of being told humanity was too dangerous for the galactic community, someone needed their help. Cole was out of his apartment and in the command center within 3 minutes. Still wearing his garden simulation gloves, the duty officer snapped to attention. Sir, we have verified the signal. It is definitely a distress beacon. Old design, probably automated. Location is deep in the outer fringe. How long to get there? At maximum jump speed, 7 hours. But sir, regulations require authorization from Get Me the President. Cole was already accessing the fleet deployment grid. The duty officer was right about regulations, but Cole also knew that humanity had been waiting for this moment, since first contact with the Galactic Accord had gone so badly 2 decades ago. When the Accord scouts had discovered Earth, they had taken one look at humanity's history and decided to seal them away like a dangerous animal. The official term was protective isolation. Humanity called it what it was: prison. President Martinez appeared on the main screen, her face tired but alert. It was late evening in Geneva. Admiral, I just got the brief. Tell me this is real. As real as it gets, Madam President. Someone activated an emergency beacon designed to reach us. The signal format is old, predates the Galactic Accord by our estimates. Whoever sent it needs help. Or it's a trap. Martinez's voice was cautious. She had been a young ambassador when the Accord quarantined Earth. She remembered the humiliation. The Accord made it very clear we are not welcome in their space. They made it clear they are afraid of us, Cole corrected. There's a difference. This signal did not come from the Accord. It came from someone in trouble. We have a humanitarian obligation to respond. Martinez was quiet for several seconds. Cole could see her weighing the options, calculating the political ramifications. Finally, she nodded. You have authorization to deploy the rapid response fleet. But Admiral, no hostile actions unless fired upon first. This is our chance to show them we are not the monsters they think we are. Understood, Madam President. We will bring them home safe. The next hour was controlled chaos. The rapid response fleet had been created for exactly this purpose, standing ready to jump at a moment's notice. 23 ships ranging from heavy cruisers to medical frigates, each one crewed by volunteers who had trained for years hoping for a chance like this. The chance to prove humanity belonged among the stars. Captain Iris Novak met Cole in the hangar bay of the UHNS Resilience, the fleet's flagship. She was younger than Cole, barely 40, but she had more actual combat experience than most officers twice her age. The resource wars on Mars had taught her how to fight, and the years of isolation had taught her patience. The fleet is ready, Admiral. All ships report full readiness. Good. Cole looked out at the assembled vessels through the hangar's viewing port. Each ship represented decades of human engineering, built in secret under the eyes of Accord monitoring stations. Officially, Earth was allowed defensive vessels only, but the line between defense and offense had always been blurry, and humanity had pushed that line as far as they dared. Make sure all crews understand the rules of engagement. We are there to rescue, not to fight. And if the Accord shows up, Novak asked, then we politely explain we are responding to a distress call and they can file a formal complaint later. Cole managed a grim smile. But we are not leaving until whoever called for help is safe. That's not negotiable. Novak nodded her understanding and headed for the Resilience's bridge. Cole followed, feeling the familiar anticipation of deployment settling into his bones. He had spent his whole career preparing for war, training for the day when the Accord might decide humanity needed to be eliminated rather than contained. But this was better. This was what humanity did best, charging into danger to save people who needed them. The bridge of the Resilience was designed with efficiency in mind. No wasted space, no decorative elements. Just clean lines and functional equipment. Lieutenant Owen Park was already at his station, running final checks on the tactical systems. Sir, I have a concern about our approach vector. Go ahead. We are jumping in with full military formation, weapons hot, shields maximum. To whoever sent that distress call, we are going to look like an invasion force. Cole had considered that. What do you suggest? Jump in further out, approach slowly, broadcast peaceful intentions. Park pulled up a tactical display. Give them time to see we are not hostile. No. Cole's voice was firm. We go in fast and ready because we do not know what we are getting into. There could be pirates, raiders, a damaged reactor about to blow. We show up ready for anything. But we broadcast peaceful intentions from the moment we arrive. Make it clear we are there to help. Dr. Ruth Glenn entered the bridge carrying a datapad filled with xenobiology information. She was the fleet's chief expert on alien psychology, one of the few humans who had been allowed limited contact with Accord species during the isolation years. Admiral, I need to brief you on potential first contact protocols. If the species that sent the distress call is one of the standard Accord races, they are going to be absolutely terrified of us. Why? We are here to help them. Because to most galactic species, humans are nightmare monsters from a hell world. Glenn pulled up images on the main screen. Delicate aquatic beings, floating jellyfish-like creatures, crystalline entities that look like they would shatter at a harsh word. The average Accord species comes from a low-gravity world with gentle weather and minimal predation. They do not understand violence the way we do. They see humans as these massive, heavily muscled predators from a planet that kills everything weak. Even our children are stronger than most adult Accord beings. Cole looked at the images and felt a pang of frustration. Humanity had spent 20 years trying to prove they could be peaceful, could be trusted. But how did you prove that to people who considered a raised voice to be aggressive? So what do? Move slowly. Speak softly. Do not make sudden movements. And for the love of everything, do not smile. Most Accord species interpret showing teeth as a threat display. Wonderful. Cole gestured to the communications officer. Note all that in the first contact protocols. Distribute to all ships. Sir, we are ready to jump, Novak reported. Cole took a breath. This was it. Humanity's first real chance to join the galactic community. To prove they were more than the monsters the Accord feared. All ships execute jump sequence. Let's go save some lives. The jump was violent by Accord standards. Human ships had to be overbuilt to handle the gravity and stresses their crews could survive. The transition through jump space took 7 seconds of gut-wrenching dimensional shifts that would kill most alien species. Cole barely noticed. His attention was on the countdown, on the moment they would emerge into normal space and see who had called them. The universe snapped back into focus. Sensors immediately pinged multiple contacts. Small research vessel, Pelrani designed by the looks of it, Park reported. And one ancient station inactive except for a beacon. No hostile contacts, no damage visible on the research vessel. Open a channel to the research vessel, Cole ordered. All frequencies, all languages we have in the database. Let them know we are here to help. What he could not know was that on the gentle current, 3 Pelrani scientists were frozen in absolute terror, staring at the fleet of warships that had just appeared around them like the hand of an angry god. Dr. Vin's skin had gone completely transparent. Navigator Hellas could not move. Captain Rella was trying to remember how to breathe water through her gills. They brought 23 warships, Vin whispered, for a distress call. Maybe they always travel in large numbers, Hellas suggested hopefully. Or maybe, Rella said quietly, they came ready to fight whoever was threatening us. They think we are in danger. They think they are rescuing us. The communications console beeped. A message was coming through in dozens of languages, cycling through the database until it found Pelrani. The voice was deep, heavy with the gravity that shaped it but trying very hard to sound gentle. This is Admiral Cole of the United Human Naval Ship Resilience. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Please respond so we can assess your situation and render assistance. You are safe now. The 3 Pelrani looked at each other. Somehow, they had to explain to the most dangerous species in the galaxy that this had all been a terrible mistake, that they were not in danger, that the Deathworlders could go home now. Except Vin was not sure they would believe that, not after coming all this way, and he was not sure what would happen if humanity thought they had been called here as some kind of cruel joke. Dr. Vin's hands shook as he reached for the communications console. Every instinct screamed at him to stay silent, to hide, to hope the massive predators outside would simply leave if ignored. But that was prey thinking, and prey thinking got you killed when dealing with apex predators. He had to respond. He had to take control of the situation before it spiraled into disaster. I will talk to them, he said, his voice barely creating bubbles in the water-filled command center. Are you insane? Hellas had regained enough composure to speak, though her skin still flickered with panic colors. Those are humans out there, Deathworlders. They could what? Attack us for asking for help? They came because they thought we needed rescue. Vin accessed the communication controls, his training overriding his terror. We explain it was a mistake. We thank them. We send them away politely. That is what civilized beings do. Captain Rella moved closer, her larger frame providing an illusion of safety. I should be the one to speak. I am the commanding officer. You are also absolutely terrified, and it shows in your skin colors, Vin said gently. At least I have been trained in xenopsychology. I know the basics of dealing with predator species." He paused. "In theory." Before Rella could argue, Vin activated the channel. This is Dr. Vin of the research vessel Gentle Current. We read you, Admiral Cole. Thank you for responding." The response was immediate. "Dr. Vin, are you in danger? Do you require immediate assistance? We have medical teams standing by." The voice was so earnest, so concerned, that Vin felt a strange emotion he had not expected. Guilt. These creatures had crossed who knew how many light years, mobilized an entire fleet, all because they thought someone needed help, and it had all been an accident. "Admiral, I need to explain something. There has been a misunderstanding. We are not in danger. One of our crew accidentally activated an old emergency beacon. We did not mean to call you. It was a mistake." Silence on the channel. Vin could imagine the confusion on the human ship. Then Admiral Cole spoke again, and his voice had changed. It was harder now, less warm. "You are telling me your distress signal was accidental?" "Yes, Admiral. I apologize profusely for the inconvenience. You may return home. We require no assistance." More silence. This time it stretched longer, uncomfortable. On the Resilience, Admiral Cole was looking at Captain Novak with an expression somewhere between disbelief and disappointment. "We mobilized 23 ships for a false alarm." "Apparently." Novak was reading the sensor data from the Pelrani vessel. "They are definitely not in distress. Ship is fully operational. Life support normal, no damage. They really did just accidentally trigger an old beacon." Ambassador Henry Cross had arrived on the bridge during the exchange. He was an older man, gray-haired and dignified, who had spent 2 decades trying to establish diplomatic relations with the Accord. 2 decades of rejection letters and closed doors. "This could still work in our favor," he said. "We responded to their call. We showed we are reliable allies. That has value. Or they think we are desperate idiots who will charge across the galaxy for nothing," Lieutenant Park muttered. Before anyone could respond, new contacts appeared on sensors. 6 ships, dropping out of jump space with far more elegance than the human fleet had managed. The designs were unmistakable. "Galactic Accord peacekeeping vessels, we have company," Park announced. "Accord warships, Valorian design." "They are hailing us," Cole straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The figure that appeared on screen was tall and crystalline, light refracting through its body in rainbow patterns. High Marshal Trent was a Valorian, one of the founding species of the Galactic Accord. His people were ancient and powerful, with technology that made even human engineering look primitive. When he spoke, his voice chimed like bells. "Human vessels, you are in violation of the quarantine protocols. You are ordered to return to your system immediately." Cole kept his voice calm. "High Marshal, we are responding to a legitimate distress signal. We have every right to render humanitarian assistance. The distress signal was an error. The Pelrani vessel has confirmed this. Your presence here is illegal and threatening. You will leave now." "Threatening?" Cole felt his temper rising but kept it controlled. "We came to help." "How is that threatening?" "You brought 23 military vessels into Accord space without permission. You demonstrated jump technology that should be beyond your current capabilities. And you are from Terra, the most dangerous world we have ever discovered. Everything about your presence is threatening." On the Gentle Current, Dr. Vin watched the exchange with growing horror. The humans and the Accord were arguing because of his crew's mistake. "We need to stop this," he told Rella, "before it becomes a battle." "What can we do?" Rella asked. "We are caught between 2 forces that could both destroy us without effort." Vin thought fast. He opened a channel to both the human fleet and the Accord vessels. "Please, both of you stop. This is our fault. We triggered the beacon by accident." The humans responded appropriately to what they believed was an emergency. No one has violated any protocols intentionally. High Marshal Trent's image swiveled to face the Pelrani ship. "Dr. Vin, you are safe now. The Accord is here to protect you from these Deathworlders. Please stand by for escort to the nearest secure station." "Protect us?" Vin felt a spike of frustration. "Admiral Cole has been nothing but polite and concerned for our safety. It is you who arrived with weapons charged and threats ready." Trent's crystalline form seemed to harden. "You do not understand humans, Doctor. They are apex predators from a Class 12 death world. Every aspect of their evolution was shaped by violence and survival. They cannot be trusted." Ambassador Cross stepped forward on the human bridge. "High Marshal, with respect, you have never given us a chance to prove otherwise. You surveyed our world from orbit, catalogued our history, and condemned us without ever speaking to us. You imprisoned an entire species based on your fears, not our actions. Your history speaks loudly enough, Trent replied. Thousands of years of warfare. Weapons designed to destroy your own world. Entire species driven to extinction by human expansion. This is not fear speaking. This is wisdom born from observation. Cole watched the diplomatic exchange, knowing Cross was better suited for this than he was, but he could not stay silent. Hi, Marshal, answer me one question. If we are so dangerous, so aggressive, then why did we come here with medical ships? Why did we bring rescue equipment? If we were the monsters you think we are, we would have come alone with weapons ready. Instead, we brought help. Trent was quiet for a moment. A predator shows many faces. You could be planning to gain trust before you strike. Or, Cross said quietly, we could simply be people who heard someone needed help and came running. Why is that so hard for you to believe? Before Trent could answer, alarms blared across all the ships simultaneously. A new signal had appeared on everyone's sensors. Another distress call. This one definitely not an accident. It was coming from a civilian convoy 2 light hours away, and the message was clear and desperate. Under attack. Multiple raiders. Requesting immediate assistance. Casualties mounting. Admiral Cole looked at the sensor display, then at High Marshal Trent's image on the screen. High Marshal, can your ships reach them in time? Trent's form flickered, light refracting in patterns that suggested calculation. No, we are too far. By the time we arrive, the convoy will be destroyed or captured. Our ships can reach them in 40 minutes, Lieutenant Park reported. If we jump immediately. Cole looked at Trent. High Marshal, I am requesting permission to render humanitarian assistance to that convoy. Put aside the politics for a moment. People are dying. Trent's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been conflict. The laws were clear. Humans were quarantined. They should not be allowed to operate freely in Accord space. But the laws were also clear about the duty to protect civilians, and his ship simply could not reach the convoy in time. If you intervene, Trent said slowly, you must exercise extreme restraint, minimum necessary force only. The Accord will not tolerate human aggression. Understood. Cole was already signaling his fleet to prepare for jump. Captain Novak, plot an intercept course. All ships prepare for combat rescue operations. On the gentle current, Hellas watched the human ships begin to move. They are actually going, she whispered. They are going to fight pirates to save people they do not know. Dr. Vin watched the massive human vessels orient for jump, their powerful engines creating distortions in space itself. Perhaps, he said quietly, we have been wrong about them. Perhaps the galaxy has been wrong. Or perhaps, Captain Rella said, her skin color showing deep concern. We are about to learn why everyone fears Deathworlders. Those pirates do not know what they have called down on themselves. The human fleet vanished into jump space, leaving the Pelrani vessel alone with the Accord peacekeepers. Dr. Vin found himself doing something he never expected. He was hoping the humans would succeed, hoping they would prove the galaxy wrong, hoping that maybe, just maybe, humanity deserved a chance after all. High Marshal Trent watched the human fleet disappear into jump space and felt something he rarely experienced. Doubt. For 50 years, the Accord had maintained that humanity was too dangerous for galactic contact. Every analysis, every projection, every simulation had concluded the same thing. Humans were apex predators from a world so hostile it should not support intelligent life, and they would inevitably bring violence and chaos to the peaceful galaxy. Yet they had just rushed off to save strangers. Pirates or not, that convoy meant nothing to humanity. They had no stake in its survival. But they went anyway. High Marshal, one of his officers chimed. Should we follow them? Yes, but maintain distance. Let us see how humans wage war. Trent accessed his ship's historical database, pulling up the files that had led to Earth's quarantine. And someone bring up the original survey data. I want to review it. The Valorian ships moved into formation, following the human fleet's trajectory at a more sedate pace. On the gentle current, Dr. Vin made a decision that surprised himself. Captain Rella, take us to the battle site as well. What? Why? Rella's skin flashed with alarm colors. Because if the humans fail, someone will need to help those civilians. And if the humans succeed, we should witness it. This might be historic. Hellas was already plotting the course. We will be the slowest ones there, but we can make it. As the various ships moved through space toward the developing crisis, Ambassador Cross used the travel time to pull up the survey data High Marshal Trent was reviewing. He had seen it before many times, but always through angry eyes. Now he tried to look at it objectively, to understand why the Accord had feared them so much. The survey team had spent 6 months studying Earth from orbit before making contact. What they found had shocked them. Survey Officer Denna's report was the most damning. Her words appeared on Cross's screen, written 50 Earth years ago. The planet-designated Terra exhibits environmental extremes beyond anything in current Accord space. Gravity measures 1.3 times standard. Atmospheric pressure and composition would be toxic to 87% of known species. Weather patterns include cyclonic storms with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. The planet experiences regular seismic events and volcanic activity. Ocean currents create water columns capable of crushing most known vessels. Native life forms include megafauna that would classify as extinction-level threats on any civilized world. Cross had read this before, but he continued anyway. Despite these conditions, one species achieved dominance. They call themselves humans. Analysis of their evolutionary history reveals a pattern of aggressive adaptation and competitive elimination of rival species. In their relatively brief existence as tool users, they have driven to extinction 68% of large predator species on their world, 43% of other large fauna, and countless smaller organisms. They achieved this through superior tools, social cooperation, and a remarkable ability to adapt to virtually any environment on their planet. The report went on, detailing human history. The wars, the weapons, the nuclear near misses, the resource exploitation. Cross could see why it had frightened the Accord. On paper, humanity looked like a plague waiting to spread through the stars. But the report missed context. It did not explain why humans fought. Did not discuss the art, the music, the literature born from those same violent civilizations. Did not mention the cooperation, the compassion, the countless acts of kindness that happened every day on Earth, but left no mark in the historical record because they were not dramatic enough to note. On Trent's ship, the High Marshal was reading the same report and coming to similar conclusions. "This is incomplete," he said aloud. His second officer, a being named Pell who served as his link to the Accord Council, chimed in agreement. "It was written hastily, High Marshal. The survey team was frightened by what they found. They made their recommendation and left quickly. So we quarantined an entire species based on a panicked report." Trent felt his crystalline structure resonate with frustration. "We never went back. Never tried to make contact. We just sealed them away and told ourselves it was for their own protection. It was also for ours." Pell reminded him gently. "Every simulation we ran showed the same outcome. If humans were allowed into galactic civilization, they would dominate it. Perhaps not through aggression, but through sheer adaptability. They survive conditions that kill other species. They think faster, react quicker. Their technology advances at unprecedented rates because they evolved in an environment that punished stagnation with death. So we imprisoned them because they would be too successful?" Trent's voice held an edge. "We isolated them because we were afraid," Pell admitted. "Perhaps that was wrong." Meanwhile, the human fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the combat zone. Lieutenant Park's sensors painted a picture of chaos. 6 civilian vessels, ranging from small transports to a larger passenger liner, were surrounded by a swarm of smaller raider ships. The raiders were firing on the civilians but not trying to destroy them. This was a capture operation, probably for ransom or slavery. 20 raider vessels, Park reported. Mixed species crews by the engine signatures. They are using older military hardware, Accord surplus mostly. The civilians are trying to run, but they are too slow. Admiral Cole studied the tactical display. "Captain Novak, how do you want to play this?" Novak was already calculating. "Fast and overwhelming. We hit them hard enough that they lose the will to fight immediately. The longer this drags on, the more chance there is for civilian casualties." "Agreed. But remember the High Marshal's words. Minimum necessary force," Novak smiled grimly. "Oh, this is the minimum necessary. These pirates just do not know it yet." On the lead raider vessel, Pirate Lord Skarn was feeling quite pleased with himself. 6 civilian ships, all carrying valuable cargo or passengers worth ransoming. It would be his most profitable run in years. Then his sensor operator made a sound of alarm. "Boss, we have contacts. Multiple ships dropping out of jump space. Big ones. Skarn looked at the display and laughed. Accord peacekeepers finally showing up. Too late as always. Tell the crews to grab what they can and prepare to run. We will be gone before those crystals get their shields up. Boss, those are not Accord ships. Skarn looked closer at the sensor data. The ships were wrong. Too angular, too heavily armored. They moved wrong too, with aggressive vectors that no Accord vessel would use. What are they? Unknown configuration. Wait, I am getting identification broadcasts. The sensor operator's voice went quiet. Oh no. Boss, those are human ships. Every being on the bridge went still. Human ships. Deathworlders. Everyone in the raiding business knew the rumors. Earth was quarantined because its inhabitants were too dangerous. Predators from a hell world who could not be trusted around civilized species. They are quarantined, Skarn said, trying to sound confident. They are not allowed in Accord space. Someone is playing a trick on us. Then the human fleet opened fire, and Skarn learned that some rumors were too conservative. The human weapons were different from Accord technology. They did not use elegant energy projections or precision beam arrays. They used mass drivers, railguns, missiles with chemical explosives. Primitive technology by galactic standards, but deployed with such overwhelming force that sophistication did not matter. The first volley disabled 6 raider ships in as many seconds. Not destroyed, just disabled. Precise shots to engines and weapon systems. The raiders tried to return fire, but human ships were designed for war. They had multiple redundant shields, armor that could take hits that would vaporize Accord vessels, and they moved with aggressive maneuvers that would kill most pilots from G-forces alone. But human pilots were from a high-gravity world. Maneuvers that would crush a Valorian merely made them uncomfortable. All ships break formation and run, Skarn ordered. But there was nowhere to run. The human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and clearly not interested in letting any raiders escape. Within 8 minutes, half the raider fleet was disabled. Within 12, Skarn was staring at a human destroyer that had positioned itself directly in front of his escape route. A communication came through. Raider vessel, this is the UHNS Resolute. Power down your weapons and engines. Prepare to be boarded. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. You have 30 seconds to comply. Skarn looked at his crew. Most of them were already reaching for the power down controls. You did not fight Deathworlders. Not when they had you dead to rights. We surrender, Skarn said bitterly. While the combat was ending, Captain Novak had already deployed rescue teams. Human Marines in heavy armor were boarding the damaged civilian vessels, evacuating wounded, providing medical aid. The civilians were terrified at first, these massive armored figures moving through their ships. But the humans were gentle despite their size, carefully lifting injured beings who weighed a fraction of what humans did, speaking in calm voices through their translators. One of the civilian captains, a being named Wade from the passenger liner, watched in amazement as human medics worked on his wounded crew. You are actually helping us, he said to the Marine commander. That is why we are here, sir. The Marine's voice was filtered through his helmet speakers. Let us get your people to safety. High Marshal Trent's fleet arrived to find the battle already over. Raiders disabled or captured, civilians being evacuated to human medical ships. Not a single civilian casualty, though several had been injured before the humans arrived. The humans had taken damage too, Trent noted. Several ships showed scorch marks from raider weapons. They had put themselves between the raiders and civilians, using their own hulls as shields. Get me a casualty report on the human fleet, Trent ordered. 23 injuries, High Marshal. Mostly minor. No fatalities. They have already begun repairs. Ambassador Cross contacted the Accord flagship. High Marshal, we have secured the area. All raiders are in custody. The civilians are safe. We are ready to turn the prisoners over to Accord authority. Trent looked at the tactical display, at the evidence of a battle won with remarkable speed and efficiency. The humans had neutralized a raider fleet larger than their own without destroying a single vessel. They had protected civilians at risk to themselves, and they were offering to hand over their prisoners rather than claiming them as spoils. Ambassador Cross, Trent said slowly. The Accord Council will need to review this incident. We understand, High Marshal. We are prepared to face whatever judgment comes, but those people needed help and we were able to provide it. We would make the same choice again. On the gentle current, Dr. Vin watched the rescue operations continue. Human ships were transferring supplies to the damaged civilian vessels. providing escort, even offering to repair the worst damage before they moved on. "Hellas," he said quietly, "start recording everything, every detail of what we are seeing." "Why?" the young navigator asked. "Because the Accord needs to see this, needs to understand what we just witnessed. The humans could have destroyed those raiders, could have let the civilians die to teach them a lesson about calling deathworlders. Instead, they risk themselves to save people they do not know and will probably never see again." Captain Rella's skin colors showed deep thought. "The galaxy has been wrong about them." "Yes," Vin agreed. "And I think it is time we helped correct that mistake." The main footage spread across the galactic network faster than anyone expected. Dr. Vin had transmitted his recordings to the Accord Central Database as evidence for what he assumed would be a hearing about the human intervention. What he had not expected was for the files to go public within hours, copied and distributed by low-level data clerks who thought people should see what really happened. Within a day, every civilized world in the Accord had access to the recordings. Not just the tactical data, but everything. The human fleet arriving in defensive formation. Admiral Cole's concerned voice asking if the Pelrani needed help. The moment when raiders opened fire on civilians and humans immediately moved to intercept, placing their own ships in the line of fire. The aftermath, with armored human marines carefully carrying injured aliens to safety, their massive hands gentle despite being capable of crushing bone. The galaxy watched and began to question everything they thought they knew. On the Pelrani homeworld, the recordings played on every public display. Citizens who had never thought about the quarantined deathworlders suddenly found themselves watching humans risk their lives for strangers. One clip in particular went viral across multiple species. A human medic still in her damaged armor, carrying a small Pelrani child who had been injured in the raid. The child was crying, terrified of the massive alien. The medic's voice came through, translated by the suit's systems. "Hey, it's okay. You are safe now. I am not going to let anything hurt you. See? I am just big and clumsy, but I am nice. Want to see something cool?" The medic had activated her helmet's display, showing the child a cartoon from Earth. Some silly animation about talking animals. The child stopped crying, fascinated. By the time they reached the medical ship, the child was giggling. That simple moment of kindness destroyed more prejudice than 1,000 diplomatic statements ever could. On the Valorian homeworld, Chancellor Orem watched the footage with his full council present. He was the most powerful being in the Galactic Accord, and he had signed off on humanity's quarantine 50 years ago. Now he was beginning to realize that might have been a mistake. "The public response has been overwhelming," Representative Pell reported. "Message traffic across the network has increased by 300%. Most of it is positive toward the humans. Citizens are asking why we kept them isolated if they are capable of such heroism." "Because we were afraid," Orem said simply. "We saw their history of violence and assumed that was all they were. We did not look deeper." One of the council members, a being from a methane-breathing species, raised a tentacle. "Chancellor, we must consider the strategic implications. The humans demonstrated combat capabilities far beyond what we expected. Their ships, their weapons, their tactics. They are more advanced than our intelligence suggested. More advanced because we forced them to develop in isolation," another council member added. "They have spent 50 years improving their technology without access to our trade networks or cooperation. They built everything themselves." Orem pulled up the technical analysis from the battle. Human ships were indeed impressive, but not because they used exotic technology. They used simple, robust designs that could take tremendous punishment. They built redundancy into every system because they came from a world where failure meant death. Their weapons were primitive by Accord standards, but devastating in their application. "They fight like they evolved on Terra," the military advisor noted. "Every tactic assumes that the environment is hostile, that enemies are lethal, that only overwhelming force and unrelenting pressure ensures survival. It is terrifying and magnificent at the same time. It is also exactly what we need," Orem said quietly. "We have built a civilization on the assumption that we are safe, that threats can be managed with minimal force and diplomatic solutions. But the universe does not care about our assumptions. Pirates, raiders, rogue states. They prey on our weakness because we refuse to be strong." "Are you suggesting we were wrong to quarantine humanity?" Pell asked. "I am suggesting we need to seriously reconsider it. The humans saved that convoy because they could and because they thought it was right. They asked for nothing in return. That is not the behavior of dangerous predators. That is the behavior of protectors. Back on Earth, President Martinez was dealing with a different crisis. Public opinion on Earth had swung hard toward demanding Accord membership. 20 years of isolation, 20 years of being told they were too dangerous, and now the galaxy could see what humans really were. The demonstrations outside government buildings were peaceful but insistent. Humanity wanted its place among the stars. We need to be careful, Martinez told her advisors. Yes, we proved ourselves. But we also deployed a military fleet into Accord space without permission. Technically, we violated the quarantine. They could use that to justify further isolation. Or they could recognize that we saved lives, her military advisor countered. Admiral Cole is already a hero on a dozen worlds. I am seeing messages from Accord citizens requesting human protection for their shipping routes. Which is exactly what we should not encourage, Martinez said firmly. We do not want to become the galaxy's mercenaries. We want to be partners, equals. That requires diplomacy, not just firepower. A communication came through from the Accord Council. Martinez took it immediately, her heart racing. This was it, the decision that would define humanity's future. Chancellor Orim's crystalline form appeared on the display. Madam President, the Accord Council has completed its review of the recent incident. Martinez braced herself for rejection, for condemnation, for another 50 years of isolation. We have decided to offer Earth provisional membership in the Galactic Accord. Martinez felt the words hit like a physical impact. Provisional. You technically violated the quarantine, even if the reasons were admirable. There are those on the Council who still fear humanity's potential for violence. The provisional membership allows you to prove yourselves over time. You will have access to trade networks, diplomatic relations, and cultural exchange. But military deployment outside your system requires Council approval, and you will be subject to regular inspections to ensure compliance with Accord peace protocols. It was not everything Martinez had hoped for, but it was a start. We accept the terms, Chancellor. Thank you for this opportunity. Do not thank me yet, Orim said. The Accord has many species who still distrust humanity. You will face prejudice, discrimination, and those who will try to provoke you into violent responses to justify their fears. Can your people handle that? Martinez thought about humanity's history, about the centuries of overcoming internal prejudices, of learning to work together despite differences. It had not been easy or pretty, but they had done it. We can handle it, Chancellor. We did not come this far to throw it away over insults. Good. Then welcome to the Galactic Accord, Madam President. I hope you will not make me regret this decision. The transmission ended. Martinez sat in silence for several seconds, then allowed herself a smile. Humanity was no longer alone. They had their chance to prove themselves. Everything else was up to them. On the gentle current, Dr. Vin received news that he had been summoned to testify before the Accord Council about his experiences with humanity. It was a high honor for a simple research scientist. But more than that, it was an opportunity. I am going to tell them everything, he told Captain Rella. Not just the battle, everything. How polite Admiral Cole was when we told him it was a false alarm. How carefully the human medics handled injured civilians. How they could have conquered that convoy, but chose to protect it instead. The galaxy needs to understand what I saw. Some will not want to believe you, Rella warned. Prejudice dies hard. Then I will show them the recordings, over and over until they cannot ignore the truth. Vin's skin colors showed determination. Humanity saved my life by not being the monsters everyone said they were. The least I can do is speak up for them. Hellas looked up from her navigation console. Doctor, we are receiving a message from the human fleet. Admiral Cole is requesting permission to visit us before he returns to Earth. Vin felt a spike of nervousness, but it was different from the terror he had felt when the humans first arrived. This was more like meeting someone famous. Tell him yes. Tell him he is welcome aboard our ship. An hour later, a human shuttle docked with the gentle current. Admiral Cole came aboard alone, having changed from his military uniform into simple civilian clothes to appear less threatening. But he was still massive compared to the Pelrani, his footsteps heavy in the low-gravity environment they maintained. Dr. Vin met him in the docking bay, forcing himself to remain calm. Admiral Cole, welcome aboard. Cole extended his hand in the human greeting gesture, then remembered himself and withdrew it. I am sorry, Doctor. I forget that not all species are comfortable with physical contact. I wanted to thank you personally for your testimony to the Accord Council. I understand it carries significant weight. I merely told the truth, Vin said. You and your people deserve recognition for what you did. We did what anyone should do, Cole replied. But I am told that is not as common in the galaxy as I hoped. Dr. Vin, I want you to know something. When we received your distress call, even the false one, every person on every ship in my fleet volunteered immediately. No one had to be ordered to come. We wanted to help. That is who humans are. We are not perfect, and we have done terrible things in our history, but we are trying to be better. Vin looked up at this massive predator from a world that should not support life, and saw past the size and strength to the person underneath. I believe you, Admiral, and I will make sure the galaxy believes it too. They talked for another hour, sharing stories about their worlds and cultures. When Cole finally left, Vin felt something he never expected. He felt like he had made a friend from Earth, a Deathworlder friend. The galaxy was changing, and for once it was changing for the better. 1 year after the incident that the galaxy now called the Pelrani Contact, Dr. Vin floated through the corridors of Research Station Unity, with a sense of wonder that had not diminished since its construction began. The station was a joint project between humanity and 5 other Accord species, positioned in neutral space where humans and aliens could work together on scientific research. It was the first permanent human presence outside their solar system, and it represented everything that had changed in such a short time. The station's design was a compromise between different species' needs. Pelrani water-filled sections, Valorian crystal gardens that fed on specific light frequencies, and human sections with their heavy gravity and dense atmosphere. Moving between sections required adaptation suits, but nobody complained. This was what cooperation looked like. Different beings working together despite their differences. Vin was scheduled to meet Captain Iris Novak in one of the common areas, sections built to accommodate multiple species with adjustable environments. He found her already there, standing near a viewport that showed the construction of new residential modules. She had retired from military service 6 months ago to become a civilian liaison for the joint research programs. Dr. Vin. Novak smiled carefully, remembering not to show too many teeth. A year of interaction had taught humans which gestures made their alien colleagues uncomfortable. Thank you for meeting me. I wanted to discuss the next phase of the research exchange program. They settled into conversation, reviewing proposals from human scientists who wanted to study Pelrani biotechnology, and Pelrani scientists fascinated by human engineering. It was all very normal, very routine. A year ago, such a meeting would have been impossible. Now it was just another day. I still cannot believe how much has changed, Vin admitted. Sometimes I forget that meeting you was an accident. The best accidents often lead to the best outcomes, Novak replied. Though I admit, when we first arrived and you told us it was a false alarm, I thought we had made fools of ourselves. You made heroes of yourselves, Vin corrected. The galaxy needed to see that strength can be used to protect rather than conquer. You showed us that. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert on the station's communication system. Senator Linda Wright's voice came through, requesting all senior personnel to report to the main conference room. Vin and Novak exchanged glances. Wright was Earth's representative to the Accord Council, and unscheduled meetings usually meant something important had happened. The conference room was already filling when they arrived. Representatives from multiple species, human scientists, military officers who served as security for the station. Chancellor Orem's holographic form appeared at the head of the table, his crystalline structure catching the light in rainbow patterns. Thank you all for responding quickly, Orem began. I wanted to inform you before this becomes public knowledge. The Accord Council voted this morning on humanity's status. The room went silent. Every human present knew what this meant. After a year of provisional membership, the Council would decide whether to grant full membership or extend the probationary period. Or worse, reinstate the quarantine. The vote was not unanimous, Orem continued. Some Council members still harbor concerns about human military capability and aggressive tendencies. However, the majority recognized what I have come to see over the past year. Humanity has proven itself to be a valuable member of our galactic community. The Council has voted to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Accord, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. The humans erupted in cheers, Even the normally reserved Senator Wright allowed herself a smile. Vin felt his skin flush with colors of joy. Full membership meant humanity was no longer on trial. They were equals now, recognized as a legitimate civilization with the same rights as any other species. But Orim was not finished. However, this decision comes with conditions. Earth must agree to certain restrictions on military deployment and weapons development. You understand that your combat capabilities still make many species nervous. Wright stepped forward. Chancellor, we accept those conditions with one request. That human security forces be allowed to volunteer for Accord peacekeeping operations. We want to help protect the galaxy, not threaten it. There was murmuring among the alien representatives. High Marshal Trent's hologram appeared beside Orim's. The Valorian commander had become something of an ally to humanity over the past year, his initial distrust evolving into respect. The Council has discussed this possibility, Trent said. If humans wish to serve as peacekeepers, we will begin a trial program. Small numbers initially, working alongside experienced Accord forces. That is acceptable, Wright agreed. We want to earn our place, not demand it. After the official meeting ended, people dispersed to spread the news or make celebratory plans. Vin found himself alone with Novak again, both of them looking out at the stars visible through the station's viewports. Your people must be very happy, Vin said. We are relieved more than anything, Novak admitted. This past year has been stressful, always wondering if we would mess up, give the Accord an excuse to lock us away again. Now we can finally relax and just be ourselves. You were always yourselves, Vin said. That is what impressed me most. You did not try to hide your nature or pretend to be something you are not. You showed us exactly who you are, and it was enough. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching cargo ships dock and depart, carrying goods between human space and the rest of the galaxy. Trade had opened up slowly over the past year, with human manufacturers eager to access galactic markets and alien companies curious about Earth's unique products. Some things were surprisingly popular. Earth music had found an enthusiastic audience among several species. Human films were considered too intense for most viewers but had a cult following among thrill seekers. And human coffee had become an unexpected luxury item, though only a few species could actually drink it without getting sick. I am giving a lecture next week, Vin said, about first contact protocols and overcoming xenophobia. The Academy wants me to talk about my experiences with humanity. Would you like to attend? I would be honored, Novak replied, though I hope you will not embarrass me too much with stories about how terrified you were when we first arrived. Only a little, Vin promised, but mostly I will talk about how wrong we were. About how the galaxy spent 50 years being afraid of humans because we judged you by your history without trying to understand your present. We saw your violence and ignored your compassion. We saw your strength and missed your gentleness. It was a failure of imagination on our part. Later that evening, the station hosted a celebration for the news about full membership. Multiple species gathered in the common areas, sharing food and drinks that were compatible with their various biologies. Someone had programmed the environmental controls to create a light show, patterns of color flowing across the ceiling in sequences that were beautiful to multiple types of vision. Admiral Cole attended via holographic transmission from Earth, unable to leave his duties but wanting to be part of the moment. Dr. Ruth Glenn was there in person, having taken a position as the station's chief of xenopsychology. She spent the evening explaining human customs to curious aliens and alien customs to confused humans, bridging the gap between cultures with patience and humor. At one point, a young Pelrani approached Novak hesitantly. The child could not have been more than 20 cycles old, barely old enough to understand what was happening. Excuse me, the child said in careful English. Are you really from Terra? From the Deathworld? Novak knelt down to be closer to the child's level. A gesture she had learned made humans less intimidating. I am. I was born on Earth. Is it true that your world tries to kill you? The child's skin showed colors of fascination rather than fear. It is a harsh world, Novak admitted. But it is also beautiful. The storms that can destroy cities also bring rain that makes things grow. The earthquakes that shake the ground also create mountains. The predators that hunt you also teach you to be strong. Earth made us tough, but it also made us appreciate life because we know how fragile it can be. The child considered this. I would like to see Earth someday. Maybe you will, Novak said gently. We are opening our world to visitors now. Carefully, because you are right that it can be dangerous for species that did not evolve there. But we want to share our home with the galaxy. The child's parent arrived to collect them, apologizing for the interruption. But Novak did not mind. These small moments of connection were what mattered. A Pelrani child who was not afraid of humans. That represented more progress than any diplomatic treaty. As the celebration continued, High Marshal Trent's hologram appeared beside Chancellor Orem's projection. They stood together, watching the various species mingle and interact. Do you think we made the right choice? Trent asked quietly. I think we corrected a mistake, Orem replied. We should have tried harder 50 years ago. Should have looked past our fears and prejudices to see the people underneath. But we were not ready then. Perhaps the galaxy needed this year to understand what humanity really represents. And what is that? Hope, Orem said simply. Hope that strength and gentleness can coexist, that a species can be dangerous and kind at the same time, that the universe is big enough for all of us, even the Deathworlders. Trent's crystalline form resonated with something like amusement. The humans have a saying, something about actions speaking louder than words. They have many wise sayings. We should listen to more of them. The celebration lasted well into the station's night cycle. When people finally began to disperse, returning to their quarters or their ships, there was a sense of satisfaction in the air. Not completion, because this was just the beginning, but satisfaction that they had reached this point together. Dr. Vin and Captain Novak were among the last to leave. They paused at the viewport one more time, looking out at the construction of new modules that would house more researchers, more species, more cooperation. Thank you, Novak said suddenly. For what? For giving us a chance. When we first arrived, you could have run, could have refused to talk to us, could have told the Accord that we were as dangerous as everyone feared. But you looked past your fear and saw us as people. That took courage. Vin's skin flickered with modest colors. I did what any scientist should do. I observed, I analyzed, and I adjusted my conclusions based on evidence. The evidence showed me that humans were worth knowing. Still, Novak insisted, you changed the course of history with that choice. You gave humanity its chance to join the stars. No, Vin corrected gently. You earned that chance by being who you are. I just made sure people were paying attention. He paused, then continued. Besides, it worked out well for everyone. My research team has access to human technology now. Do you have any idea how excited we are about your recycling systems? The efficiency is remarkable. Novak laughed. Only a Pelrani would be excited about garbage processing. Only a human would find that strange, Vin replied, his skin showing colors of amusement. They parted ways, each heading to their respective quarters. As Vin swam through the water-filled corridors toward his room, he thought about how much had changed since that day 1 year ago, when Hellas had accidentally activated an ancient beacon. They had been terrified of the response, certain that calling the Deathworlders would bring destruction. Instead, it had brought friends, allies, partners in building a better galaxy. The accidental distress call had become the bridge that humanity needed. And in trying to cross that bridge to help strangers in need, humans had proven they belonged among the stars. Not despite being from a death world, but because of it. The same traits that made them survivors made them protectors. The same strength that made them dangerous made them invaluable. The galaxy was learning that lesson. Slowly, sometimes painfully, but learning nonetheless. And Vin was proud to be part of that education. He fell asleep that night thinking about future research projects, about the mysteries of the universe that humans and aliens would explore together, about the civilization they would build across the stars. It had started with a mistake, a young navigator's curiosity and an old beacon's automated response, but it had led to something beautiful, something worth celebrating. something that gave hope for a future where different species, different worlds, different ways of being could coexist and thrive together. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the galaxy was better for it.